Welcome back to Nightcap Chat, the pop culture podcast. We talk all things comic books, video games, movies, TV shows, and more. Today, we are covering The Mandalorian Season 2. I'm Blade O'Neill.
I'm Ken Brown.
I'm Lance O'Neill.
And Happy New Year to everybody. 2021 is here upon us, and Nightcap Chat is back.
Woo, Happy New Year. We all made it.
2020,
We made it through
yes.
2020. We're all here. We're alive. Now, before I get started.
Yes.
Okay? Before we do anything.
Uh-oh.
I just, after the last episode, we did the recap. And we had a nice little time off. And I started thinking, right?
Uh-oh.
So I was just really thinking about that podcast, and I think I come to the conclusion that my brain has evolved past Nightcap Chat, and I can't be bothered with such insignificant nonsense anymore. So I'm going to have to take my talents to a new maybe podcast or Twitch channel called Lance's Crystal Ball. So that's what I'm going to be doing.
Oh, Lance left.
Here? Well,
Wow.
I said too, like that. Before the show started, we're talking about what we're talking about from Mandalorian, and I was kind of hoping that you would have told me that Luke Skywalker was going to be in that last episode, because you would have been the only person in America to guess that, and I would have expected that. I really totally would have expected that. I would have been good with that. And but so kind of like hindsight being 2020, Lance, didn't you see Luke Skywalker coming in that?
Okay, I don't know if Lance, are you muted now?
I'm back. Okay, I'm sorry. I was just joking. I'm sorry. I was keeping the audience at home, waiting.
Lance's ego evolved with 2021.
You know what? I'm gonna have to say I hadn't given it thought. That's what I'll say about that.
Before we dive into all of this Mandalorian goodness that we have been waiting, 10 weeks probably to talk about with you all, I want to kick off the year with just touching on a couple things going on in podcast news. Wonder Woman 3 got the green light shortly after the Wonder Woman 2 debut.
Really?
Yes.
What are they going to call that? 1993?
I have no idea. Did you guys? So none of us have discussed this actually. So this is all going to be fresh. And I have no idea what's about to happen here. Have you guys seen Wonder Woman 1984?
I did see it actually. We took it to Kale.
I didn't.
Okay, Lance hasn't seen it, so we won't give any spoilers. But I will say, man, I want those 2.5 hours of my life back. That was so bad. I'm so disappointed, and I love Gal Gadot to a fault.
Yeah.
And man,
I think they tried too hard to study the 80s and forgot to make a plot.
Yep. Yeah, that's for sure. And I was really excited for the director, is it Patty Jenkins, to take on a Star Wars film now, and now I'm not so sure. So yeah,
special effects were fun. I mean, the costumes were kind of cool. I mean, they had a lot of good, it was kind of felt like the Arizona Cardinals football season this year. I mean, all the ingredients were there, but they couldn't execute a playoff run.
I'm gonna be honest. I didn't see Wonder Woman yet because the trailers I saw, and I've seen a couple trailers. I was just like, it just wasn't interesting. And then so when it came out, I was like, I'll see it eventually. Even though it was already out on the TV, I was just like, whatever. There wasn't. I don't know.
Yeah, we would see it.
And then now that you guys are saying it wasn't very good.
Yeah, it's not even worth seeing, I would say. I mean, despite Gal Gadot and Pedro Pascal, and I would say even Kristen Wiig as Cheetah was there. I think everyone was good, and even that did not save the movie. It was that bad.
Yeah.
But I don't want to focus too much on the negativity here. Did you have something else to add?
Yeah. No, it's I said too. It's the actors in it were great. I mean, to put a positive spin on it, I mean, the actors did as best as they could with it. I feel really bad for Maxwell Lord's plot they gave him, because they really just kind of wanted him to be the antagonist. he was the most goofy villain I think I've ever seen in any superhero movie. And I feel bad for him because Maxwell Lord is really a pretty devastating force in the DC universe, like almost as bad as Lex Luthor in a way, but they completely minimized his potential for what they could do with him. I just felt like that. It was almost like that. I don't know. Like, did someone told me they rewrote part of the script because they had all this extra time? They started tinkering with it a little bit. Is that true, or is that just
I have no
stuff
idea.
that I've heard through customers coming and talking about it?
I mean, who knows?
From the trailer, it seemed like he was like Kevin Bacon in that X-Men movie.
Yeah, pretty much, dude. I mean, he had a little bit.
Was that like the kind of character he was?
Dude. Kevin Bacon was even
when he was
cooler.
Bastion Shaw.
No.
Yeah, like Sebastian was actually cooler than Maxwell Lord, and it was, I don't know, dude. It was kind of like Kazam mixed with Wonder Woman, and I didn't quite understand the reasoning behind having Maxwell. I understand that, I guess, the whole plot of why Maxwell Lord wanted to, get his power, but it was just, I don't know, just all over the place, man. It's just kind of, I was hoping for so much more since we waited so long for it. We had such great experience with the first movie, and I think they tried recreating that same magic in the second movie, but it just didn't hit home the way that I think they expected it to.
The biggest takeaway is it could be better. Wonder Woman 2 pun. Okay, because it's a meme now. All right, and if you don't get that, then you didn't see the movie. WandaVision comes out in a little over a week. We're really looking forward to that, and we can't wait to talk about it with you all very, very soon. The other big news this week is today begins the beginning of the High Republic era for Star Wars. This is a multi-year project that's going to take place in books, comic books, and they're saying magazines, and I don't understand what that means because
TV show too. Did they announce a TV show too?
Yes, okay. I believe one of the upcoming Disney Plus shows in a couple of years will also be in this High Republic era. So this is very exciting, and I'm going to go pick up the book. Well, it's tomorrow for when I'm recording this, but I guess it's today if you're listening to it live anyway. But I'm really looking forward to exploring this new era of Star Wars.
Can I touch on something from the comic book aspect of it too as
please.
Well? Okay, the #1 issue is not even out yet, and I already have second printings on order.
Oh man, so I missed out on the first printing.
First print, I ordered a ton of copies, so you should be able to get a copy.
Great.
But it's just crazy. I've never seen a book hit second prints that quickly before it's even on the shelf.
Well, that should be loaded with first appearances.
Absolutely.
Right off the bat.
Yeah.
Every single
one
of them.
Like the giant-sized X-Men of Star Wars.
Yeah.
I probably haven't read a Star Wars book since I was a little kid, and this is the first one I actually really want to read.
Interesting. I love reading the Star Wars.
Should be really good.
It's all good stuff. Speaking of Star Wars, we got a fun episode here talking about The Mandalorian, which I've been really, really excited to talk about. I haven't really talked about this with too many people because of the whole isolation thing.
Can I just say one more random tangent,
please,
before I forget about it again?
Yeah,
as I just knocked myself all over the place.
Oh no.
But okay, now I know it's not Star Wars related, but I have to touch on how much I enjoyed Cobra Kai season 3. Did you guys watch Cobra Kai?
No.
I don't know. You guys aren't into Cobra Kai yet?
No. What is that a spin-off of again? Isn't that a Karate Kid thing?
Kid.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either.
Dude,
and we just lost all our friends.
It's pretty much. You'll be surprised. There's a lot of Cobra Kai fans out there.
No, I know.
I was talking to someone else in the store this week too. I said, my 2 favorite shows on TV right now are Cobra Kai and The Mandalorian. And they agreed. Oh my gosh, dude, you're so right, dude. It's like just the storytelling is so good on so many different onions of the level. Same with Mandalorian. Like, it appeals not only to today's audiences, but it appeals to the audiences that grew up with the Karate Kid too as well. And it's just the flashback scenes that they put in Karate Kid are just kind of magical way to include the storytelling of the original storytell and with the modern storytell. It was just so well done. But that's all right. Now we'll give it back to Mandalorian. But
no, I've heard a lot of good things about it.
Shows it's Cobra Kai and Mandalorian right now.
And this is on season 3 too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Is that Netflix?
Yes, and I binge watched it within a day. It was pretty sad. I don't do that very often, but I got through 10 episodes, was it? Or was it 8 episodes of Cobra Kai?
And I just know we watched it.
Yeah, all I know is like it was all blending together. Next thing we know, we're done with it within 24 hours, which is something I don't do very often. But since it was New Year's Eve weekend, we kind of executed the Cobra Kai mission, and it's so good if you know anything about the Karate Kid. All I've seen is the first Karate Kid movie.
Yeah.
But you know, there's been multiples. I haven't seen all 4 like some of the other people have. But it's just very, very, very well done and gets you invested in these characters more than actually the original movie, which is kind of hard to do.
My wife and I, we actually canceled Netflix a couple of days ago, since we're on the topic of Netflix here, because The Office left.
That's not why. Because I said
that is why.
I know, and I'm just kidding. I'm just saying. I said it's gonna go away, and you guys are like, we gotta cancel it. Lance said.
So it's a prediction, dude.
But
I think Lance predicted you would cancel Netflix.
That's true.
Too,
that's true. I have to go back and listen to that now. But The Office
2021 strong.
Yeah, the Office left. We go to sleep watching The Office like almost every night. I mean, we rotate a couple other shows, but The Office is the main one. Probably literally watched it like it has to be 100 times. I mean, it has to be. But I bought it on Vudu, so everything's okay. So don't worry about me.
Going back to your response when I said Cobra Kai is exactly how I felt about starting to watch the show. But I heard so many people tell me it was good. I go, okay, I'll see how good this actually is. Yeah. And I was actually, oh my gosh, dude, hook, line, and sinker. People are not making stuff up. This is like a Firefly Serenity type of fan base that will just like either enjoy it or you don't enjoy it. And I can see why people actually enjoyed it. But I was like, it's big deal. Cobra Kai, really? Johnny's back? Come on, man. See that kid back again. And it really gets you invested in every character in the show, which is really kind of strange. Don't see that very often.
Yeah, you heard it here. The Cobra Kai is not a bomb, especially if you're a fan of the Karate Kid. So I'm glad to hear that there's good stuff.
I'm just glad it didn't take me 10 years to discover like every other show I discovered.
Yeah, I hear that. So,
go ahead.
Speaking of good shows, The Mandalorian.
Was that show good?
I thought it was all right. You know, I think it was better than season 1. I really, really enjoyed this season. And this first episode here, I think kind of revealed to us chapter 9, The Marshal, directed by Jon Favreau. I think this was the episode where we realized that all of those weird rumors, all those weird casting rumors were probably going to turn out to be true. Because a few minutes into the episode, we get to meet Cobb Vanth, played by Timothy Olyphant, who is wearing Boba Fett's armor, which is just wow. You know, like you kind of know what they were setting up, and we won't get too far ahead of this. But this is really cool because Cobb Vanth actually first appeared in one of the Disney, or in canon, Cobb Vanth has an appearance in the books here. So they brought this onto the screen. And if I'm not mistaken, Cobb Vanth is also a character from Legends as well. So, you know, this is Disney really paying attention to the rest of, you know, the expanded universe, which is really neat. We got a cool cameo right in the beginning with, oh my goodness, there's an alien played by, oh my gosh, his name is escaping me. John Leguizamo. I'm butchering that. He plays the alien mob boss in the beginning. If you can't think of who that actor is, he plays the clown in Spawn. Oh my goodness, that's I can come up with something better than that. Now all I can think of is Tu Wong Fu. Thanks for everything. Anyway, wonderful character actor, phenomenal actor. Probably just wanted to be in there. You know, I don't care for Timothy Olyphant that much, but he was great as Cobb Vanth, I think.
Mm-hmm. I thought he was great too.
Great in a lot of things.
Yeah. When he showed up in the Boba Fett armor, you had to get that's the you knew this was gonna be a great season just from there.
It was a little like like when you're like, oh, Boba Fett, and then he takes off, and you're like, oh, like come on, you know what I mean? Like there's a little like, oh, okay, great, this like random.
I didn't go to Boba Fett. I was going to Cobb Vanth actually, but that was probably because of the rumors. I'll admit it. Like I wasn't because I was smart. It's because I knew about that, and I was like, "Oh,
did Cobb Vanth wear the Boba Fett armor in the books then too? Was that all from the books then?
Yeah,
that is cool. I did not even know that.
So of course, the implication was, Boba Fett's around, or at least his armor washed up, right? And they fight a crate dragon, which is really cool. I mean, that goes all the way back to episode 4. Like we saw one in the desert, and now. We actually got to see one finally. Like there's been allusions to them, and like we saw the bones and on Tatooine in episode 4. And, like we had a whole on battle, which was awesome.
So I don't mean to be like the negative person,
negative Nancy.
Yeah, but the whole, like they're like, all right, we gotta kill this dragon, right? We got this. They set up this huge elaborate plan. They signed a peace treaty, all this nonsense. Just to try to kill this dragon, right? And I literally, like, what ended up happening, like how they defeat the dragon, was like, why didn't they just do that in the first place? And that's literally what I thought the plan should have been anyway, was if you're constantly feeding this dragon food, like, of these huge, things, why don't you just strap a bunch of bombs on them and then just have them eat it? Like, and then that's what ended up having to happen in the end anyway, with Mandalorian jumping in there too. It just like, to me, it was just like, Lance, you killed all these people.
It's hard not being a genius.
I guess so.
Lance, how did you get all the good brains in the world? we're just trying to keep up, Lance. We're just here along for the ride, man.
Yeah. It's just like, even when they're, like when there's the scene where they're loading up the yaks, whatever the hell you want to call them,
right? Banthas. The yaks.
Is that what they're called? Okay.
Yes. I think they're now called yaks moving forward, though. Now.
Yeah, we can call them yaks.
Hey, when they're loading up the yaks, and you can see it's just like, oh look, they have like 100 bombs on them. Just why don't you just let it eat one of them? Like, it's gonna happen. Like, I don't know, but it was great. And the graphics are like, it's so cool to have such good graphics for a TV show with the new technology and everything. It's so awesome.
It feels like you're watching the movie just broken up into chapters.
Yep. Yeah. And, Disney's making this happen. Of course, the end of it, hooked us all in. We see the Mandalorian ride off into the sunset. And then we see a man in black robes turns around, and it's Tamora Morrison. The clone himself, Boba Fett, is back, and he is going to get his armor. And I thought that was going to be it for Boba Fett there.
Can I touch on one more major part of that episode? I thought was really, that has been kind of glossed over.
Yeah, what is that?
Is how cool was it seeing the Sand People be likable?
Yeah, totally.
That was the first time that whole the fire night where they're speaking sign language with each other and just kind of humanizing the Sand People for the first time, to them not just being these vicious warriors, but being a little bit more just territorial and trying to just be their own culture.
Yep.
And that was really cool to see the Sand People portrayed in that way for the very first time, which completely expands onto another more or less culture inside of Star Wars that we really haven't even seen yet until that episode.
Absolutely, because they were just kind of like, only portrayed as brutes, really up until that point. We saw Anakin slaughter them and really, and that gives more emotion to it. Like, Anakin wasn't killing animals in the desert. These are a people, which makes what Anakin did even worse. I mean, to your point too, the Black Series figures
represented as like a peacekeeper more than anything.
Yeah, exactly. And the Black Series figures, the secondary market, there was a huge spike for the Sand People after that episode.
Makes sense, man, dude.
But luckily, if you follow like Yakface on Instagram, they're doing a re-release for the 50th anniversary Black Series figures. So don't pay the inflated prices. They're getting a re-release. Like, it's all good if you're an army builder there.
And has a TV show ever revitalized toys the way that Mandalorian has? interest in Star Wars figures?
Revitalize? I mean, that's a good question. It'd be probably interesting to see some numbers.
Because Star Wars toys were starting to get stagnant the past few years.
Mm-hmm.
Then all of a sudden, boom, they're the hottest thing ever again.
Yep, they're definitely back. It's hard to compare because I mean you gotta look at things like Transformers and inflation and GI Joe. I mean it'd be interesting to compare. I mean I would be interesting to see percentages and stuff.
Because I'm selling solid cases of figures again for the first time in quite a long time, and I've never seen that since I've been open.
That's awesome.
Like figures selling within like 2 to 3 days,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously because like the big box stores aren't very heavy. What? Certain figures, just like Ahsoka, gone within a week. The Mandalorian gone within a day or two. It's crazy because toys have been. Maybe it's because Toys R Us is no longer with us either as well. And,
I mean, or are they starting to understand what the fans want? Because like nobody wanted, some of these characters that they've been like trying to push for episode 7, 8, 9, and I like those episodes, but like Ahsoka, I will buy every Ahsoka everything, and now all of a sudden I'm having a hard time keeping up on Ahsoka. Well, that's all I wanted to begin with, So I think it's a very expanded conversation.
That's true. That'd be a fun episode to talk about sometime. Like what's brought back the huge interest in toys? Was it just a pandemic last year, or was there more to it that we're going to see this continue to happen for many years to come?
Well,
again?
this is
it's like a renaissance of toys again.
Yeah, this is 2021. One of the things I was really hoping to do this year was to have a few Star Wars episodes for Lucasfilm's 50th anniversary. So I'm got a few ideas in mind, but we'll bring those up later with some guests and whatnot. But I think there are lots of things to talk about Star Wars wise for this year. The second episode of this season, Chapter 10, The Passenger. In my humble opinion, this was the weakest episode of the show. The Mandalorian ends up transporting a frog lady, and they end up crashing on a snow planet, and then they get attacked by these giant spiders. And I was eating dinner when we were watching this episode, and it was so gross. I had a really hard time watching it.
I mean, it didn't help that, like, we have, Baby Yoda going around eating frog lady's children's. Like, it's like, I don't know. Was that all necessary? And then you had to do it it happened like 5 times.
It was excessive. The first time it was like, okay, no, Baby Yoda, you stop it. Like, okay, stop. Like, stop it.
Well, the kid's like, it's like candy to the kid.
I know.
It was like candy Easter eggs. They're like Cadbury's to the kid.
It was gross.
It was.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean,
that episode did feel like a filler. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Kind of felt like a filler.
Kind of remind me of 8-Legged Freaks. The first one was Tremors to me. The second episode had a little bit of 8-Legged Freaks. I was going, what is with this pattern here of monsters showing up from like famous movies?
Yeah. I could definitely see that. And I believe that pattern continues, if I'm not mistaken, too, for a little bit. It was cool seeing, these spiders with the original concept art drawn by the famous concept artist whose name is eluding me, and I'm not going to bother Googling it while I'm sitting here. But I think they did different species of the spider in Star Wars Rebels, which was really cool. But, I mean,
that's cool.
I don't want to dwell on this too long. And he gets out of it. Ship's ruined. And, yeah.
Did you catch that the father was actually someone that was sitting in the bar from season 1?
No. The father...
The frog people?
Really? Okay, no, I did not.
Yeah, he was sitting in the cantina when Mandalorian went into the cantina in season 1.
Interesting.
And he was sitting with a friend, and I go, "Oh my gosh, dude, how that's crazy." So I went back and we're watching an episode, and going back and going through stuff, and I go, "Dude, there's the Frog Father."
Is that them being like, "Oh, see, look, we're trying to connect the dots to everything," or is that just them just being like lazy and just being like, "Or we'll just use this guy, nobody's gonna really notice."
Yeah, I think it was supposed to be connected. I think it was part of like their they're laying down Easter eggs that they get back to as the story goes.
I will say in argument for
actually. Okay.
No, go on.
At the end of that same episode, like that was the episode where I don't want to spoil it, we're a little bit ahead of ourselves, but the female bounty hunter that was from the previous season, that when they were trying to,
Fennec.
What was her name again?
Fennec.
Yeah, Fennec, the one that's played by Agents,
Ming-Na Wen.
Shield. Yeah, yes. And at the end of that episode, there was a foot that stood over her, and that sure enough was revealed to be later. We'll wait till we're there.
Yeah, it's Boba Fett. But to further your point that
but Boba Fett was in season 1.
Yeah, exactly. But what more supports that it wasn't just like, okay, let's use the frog guy. When Mando captures the other blue amphibian guy who shows up again later, he makes reference to the harvest or the harvest moon or whatever it is, and spawning before then, and that's what this frog lady's trying to do. So those things were already being referenced, which is also cool. So yeah, I think they do think about these things. I mean, yeah, and that Boba Fett thing also, I think, makes it more apparent. I mean, think about it, Lance. I mean, we're talking about Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. Yeah. Like this is the godfather of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and Dave Filoni has done incredible things for Star Wars, more than anybody else's between Clone Wars and Rebels, Mandalorian. Like they intentionally save things, and this next episode here, I think, makes it even more apparent. Chapter 11, which is episode 3, is The Heiress, directed by Bryce Dallas Howard, one of my favorite episodes this season. And oh my goodness, I was so excited to see Bo-Katan show up.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my gosh. And then she took off her helmet, and it was Katie Sackhoff, who voices her in Star Wars, Clone Wars, and Rebels. And like, I couldn't believe this was happening. I was so excited to see a character from the cartoons make a live action debut and have it be the voice actor that voiced her play her in live action. Like, how cool is that?
So too, it's like that's so much fan service being delivered in the series. I mean, it's perfect that they did use her.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like you hit it right on the head. There's nothing else can be said about it except how awesome and how cool it is to see them pay attention to their own continuity and just, hey, who cares if it was a cartoon? This is the same person. We're going to have it translate over into real action because it's all part of the same storytell. And it was kind of brilliant that they pulled that off.
You know, of course, you know, maybe you were hoping to see Bo-Katan come up because, you know, she was the last person we knew had the Darksaber. So, like, the Darksaber was in Clone Wars, it was in Rebels. And of course, that was one of the big reveals at the end of season 1. But seeing Moff Gideon with the Darksaber, you're like, oh my gosh, did he kill Bo-Katan? But it turns out not. She just lost it. So, really cool to see she's still alive, and I'm really, really excited to see where this goes. And of course, you know, he's looking for his people, you know, and she teaches him a lesson about the nonsense about not taking off your helmet, which is a little seed for the rest of the season, of course. But this is the first time we hear Ahsoka Tano brought up. So they go find Ahsoka Tano on whatever planet. And we were just talking about Ahsoka a few minutes ago. One of my favorite Star Wars characters of all time. But this episode, you know, they invade a Imperial vessel. Bo-Katan steals it, and they move on. Anyone else have anything else to say on that episode?
It was cool seeing WWE's Sasha Banks try to translate over from wrestling to acting for wrestling fans. That was kind of a cool little Easter egg that they threw in there. And I mean, it's the two, like, well, obviously that wasn't the only time we saw her, but quite there yet.
Yep.
But that was kind of fun to see her make a transition into acting and not be a horrible actor. And I was pretty impressed. Even though she had very few lines, she held her own inside of the Star Wars universe.
You could tell they like kept her from saying or doing too much.
Yeah, she was kind of a support character, but it was still cool to see her. not look like a complete idiot on screen.
Yeah, I saw a lot of fans freaking out about her being in there, and I guess there's another wrestler too, who is one of the Imperials. But you know more about that than I do. I couldn't even bring up her name.
Yeah, I didn't catch who the Imperial wrestler was. I missed that one.
She's wearing the officer's uniform and she's on Moff Gideon's ship. I thought she was a wrestler
too.
I thought so. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she's something else. But
because I've heard a lot of people. Have you heard the rumors about who people think she is?
Yes, that people think she is Sabine Wren from Star Wars Rebels,
cool.
but I don't think that's true.
That makes more sense of what I've heard people say.
What did you hear? That's the only thing I've heard.
They keep on guessing she's Afra, Dr. Afra.
That doesn't.
And I don't understand how. But just because there's a cover
make sense to me.
Where Afra's in an Imperial outfit under like a secret mission, and they're thinking, "Oh, that's Afra." I don't know. That's kind of a reach, but who knows?
Yeah, I don't think that can be correct. I could see Sabine more, but I think people are.
Sabine would be awesome on that aspect.
I think people are just trying to look for something that we're familiar with, like making mountains out of molehills, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll see.
Who we need to ask though, Lance. What is it?
I don't want to spoil it for anyone.
So once again, he's right again. We're just not going to get the spoilers.
So the next episode of this season, Chapter 12, The Siege. Before he finds his Jedi, he has to go fix his ship, and he goes to his old friends Grief Karga and my girl. I'm wearing her shirt, Gina Carano, Cara Dune. My dog's name is Cara. She's sitting right behind me too. So I'm fanboying out here. Cara Dune's one of my favorite Star Wars characters of all time. And then Mando goes and helps them, and Kara's got some character development. She becomes the marshal in this episode, and you find out I guess they said she was from Alderaan all along, but she kind of talks about how she lost everyone when Alderaan blew up, and I started crying. Like I was crying. I was sad. Man. So that was cool.
Where was she? Where was she when Alderaan was blown up? That's what I was trying to.
Not on Alderaan.
Yeah, because
she's a rebel. She was a rebel. Oh my gosh, I'm the biggest Cara Dune fan, and I can't think of what she was. She's a rebel. She was a rebel shock trooper. Something like that. So she was fighting for the rebels.
So technically, are they going to have a meetup between her and Leia eventually?
I would love
because Leia's still alive at this point. Wouldn't that be kind of awesome? The two lost, Alderaan survivors type of thing.
Oh my gosh, I just got chills. I didn't even think about that. I was thinking about them meeting
awesome?
when they were younger, but then I completely forgot. Like, oh yeah, like
Leia's
this is Empire Strikes Back. I mean, not Empire Strikes.
Yes.
This is just post Return of the Jedi. Wow,
yeah,
that would be cool. I would love that.
Because they did with Luke. Why not Leia?
Yeah. Oh my goodness, absolutely.
There's a story to be told there. I think that would be cool.
Yeah, I think you're completely correct.
Lance, you're rubbing off on me, man. That's my prediction.
But we got some TIE fighters, in that episode. They helped secure Navarro. It was all good. I think that was the episode with the cookies too, right? Where they where Baby Yoda ate the blue macaroons or whatever you want to call them. Yes. Oh yes, that is the episode.
I started putting together a theory that nobody really agrees with me on.
Okay.
Is Grogu? I'm sorry. No, Grogu. Baby Yoda. My apologies. I'm ahead of myself again.
No, we can say Grogu. It's okay.
Can we say Grogu yet? Has Grogu been talking about?
It's the next episode, but we're here.
Okay. Well, I'm having a forced prediction of Grogu showing up here pretty soon. But Baby Yoda being tempted by the dark side more than once during the season. First by the frog eggs, and number 2 by the cookies. Because the kid didn't share, and so he used the dark side of the Force too as well. Correct? what?
Well, I would say I'm gonna say yes.
No.
Yes. No.
Yeah, I think so too.
Hear me out, because in the next episode,
Okay.
right?
Yes, she says.
She says,
"There's such much fear in you."
yes.
Yes. Even better. Thank you, Lance, dude. See, like
So
we're rubbing off
I
on
would,
each other, man.
I would 100% agree with that.
Because and I said too, it's like Luke went through the same thing. He was tempted by the dark side of the Force too, as well. Boy, it's how do you deal with the temptations? And Grogu in his first couple of attempts. I mean, I know he's young and he's like a little kid, but you can
Wait, but
easily
he's not.
say
He's
that
like
he was
50 years
tempted by
old.
the. That's true,
Right?
dude. Yeah, so he like
He
like turtle
is.
years,
He
whatever.
is, and he isn't.
Yeah, because they mature at such a slower rate.
But obviously,
Yeah.
they can communicate. If you have the Force. But I mean, my only thing is, I mean, like I see what you guys are saying. It's not the dark side. Like stealing cookies is not the dark side of the Force. Like it's still just
That's how it starts.
but it
it's
was selfish. He was doing it. He was doing it based off of selfish need or selfish want, rather
yes,
than because he
yes.
asked the kid nicely first, and the kid said, "No, those are my cookies." And then he said, "Okay, I'm going to take things into my own hands here."
He's just a kid,
And
Yeah. I
don't
see
know,
what
Blade,
you
would you
guys.
have done that as a child?
But I was a freaking angel, man. No,
But that's my
Yeah.
point. I wouldn't have either. And it's not like
Mhm.
we're saying, oh well, he's evil, but like for a little
no,
kid,
it's not evil. He's just tempted.
like a little kid, he's not gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna kill this guy. Like that's not what a little kid.
but
would do.
because it's a
Little would be
kid,
like, well, I'm gonna take
like
it anyway.
there's
Yeah.
innocence in the youth. It's not understanding his power, not having control of it. Still learning that right and wrong. You can't do this. You can't.
Yeah, he also had
eat
enough control
people's
of it to
babies.
push the cookies off to pull the cookies off of the other kid's desk.
That's why it's dangerous, and that's why
Yeah.
somebody says, like he has to be trained or it'll be dangerous. It starts with cookies. You give a mouse a cookie, and it brings about the end of the world. Because
exactly.
it doesn't. Just like that robot chicken skit.
Yeah, dude, and they're macaroons too. That's even worse, dude. Macaroons are
Gosh, and there was a
not
fish.
even that tasty of cookie, dude.
I know,
And it was
Yeah.
macaroons made with the blue milk.
That's
Oh,
funny.
Yeah,
That's funny. I didn't even think about it like that. Okay, I'm really
Yeah.
excited to talk about this next one in a little
Yes.
bit. I'm excited and not excited. Chapter 13, The Jedi. This episode starts off
Wow.
strong. We see all of a sudden white lightsabers in the darkness and a familiar orange face. Ahsoka Tano is here on the planet Corvus. This was really, really interesting kind of samurai episode. We see Ahsoka Tano on the live action screen for the first time, confronting the magistrate.
So too speechless once again, dude. I love the cloudy scene where she comes out. Was that like a forest area? What was that area? I'm trying to remember.
It was like a
Top of my head,
forest, and I actually thought it was Mustafar at first, but then it turned out quickly not to be. But the trees were very similar.
Yeah, dude. It's all I said too is like I'm just excited to see Jedi action again at this point. Because I said too, this is after Return of the Jedi, and we all thought like at the end of Return of the Jedi that Luke was, one of the last Jedis, and now we're finding the other Jedis coming out again, which is pretty awesome.
Well,
Especially when
she's
Ahsoka
no
is one of
Jedi.
the first ones we see. That's right. She was what? Okay, educate me, Blade. What do they call her again?
So she's not a Jedi. Well, she's just not a Jedi at this point. She left the Jedi Order, and of course, in this episode, she refuses to train Grogu. Like she doesn't.
That's right.
She's lost faith, in the Jedi way. At this point, and that's symbolic to her lightsabers. Which are white. There's no affiliation. Like she's a good guy still, but the Jedi failed her. And she's just not about it. And when she, fights Darth Vader in Star Wars Rebels, like, Vader says, revenge is not the Jedi way. She says, I am no Jedi.
Nice. Love it. See, man, I gotta watch that still.
It's good stuff.
That's where I need to get caught up because I've seen pretty much everything live action, but I've not seen everything animated.
Dude, it is worth it, especially Rebels. Clone Wars has a lot of filler. And that's why I love Ahsoka Tano. And I was really looking forward to seeing her in live action. But man, oh man, Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka is just some bad fan casting that should never have happened. Like, she was so bland. It was so disappointing. But luckily, like the opposite of Wonder Woman, the episode was still so good in spite of her being like a cardboard box. So I mean, that was cool.
Wow.
And I
thought that was one of my favorite episodes.
It is one of my favorite episodes too. Don't get me wrong. And another one of my favorite characters, like as far as like my top 5 to 10 Star Wars characters go, like they are littered throughout the Mandalorian here, because she says, you know, where's your master? Where is Grand Admiral Thrawn, who goes back as far as the Legends books, which were originally considered like the original, you know, episode 7, 8, 9 with Thrawn and Mara Jade and Luke and everybody. Thrawn, you know, was brought back by Dave Filoni in Star Wars Rebels, and he now has canon Disney books. We actually have 4 of them now. So it was super cool to have that name drop. I was not expecting that. But man, like, I mean, you guys just heard, like, I was so excited for Katie Sackhoff to play Bo-Katan. Like, why couldn't we have had Ashley Eckstein play Ahsoka, who is the voice actress for Ahsoka?
Just we wanted the voice actor that played Ahsoka to come back and play the live action Ahsoka.
Yeah.
So like, I could see that argument. Like, what's the actress like? Does she look anything like Ahsoka? Like,
I think so.
Build or anything? Or?
I mean, maybe not her build. Maybe she's a little short, but I mean, what is height? You know, like, I think she's got a great face for it. Ahsoka's got to be in her 40s at least at this point. You have makeup. I mean, Tom Cruise is running around doing action movies, and he's like 5'2", right? So why can't Ashley Eckstein play Ahsoka? I mean, like, her voice is so mesmerizing, you know, and Rosario Dawson just didn't have that. Like, there was a certain magic that Ashley brought to the character.
I don't know. The question is, I mean, I do think there's somewhat of a difference. Not saying you can't do one or the other or both, but maybe there's, you know, can she act? There's doing a voice for something, and then there's acting. And sure, a lot of it is about, you know, how you're saying it and how you're bringing it forth. But is she comfortable acting? And
let me say this, because Star Wars has done it with Darth Vader, and more recently, and probably more importantly, with Darth Maul. Like, we had Ray Park reprise his role as Darth Maul in Solo and everything else, but they still took the voice actor from Clone Wars and Rebels and dubbed him and used that voice actor for Darth Maul in the Solo live action movie. So, you know what? I don't even care who plays the live action Ahsoka. I just want her to sound like Ashley Eckstein. I think that's really what it comes down to for me. Because, you know, really, you know, I'm sure Rosario Dawson even had a stunt double for some of the fight scenes. So what does it matter? She had a hood on and makeup. It would have been easy. I don't know. I love Ahsoka. I'm obsessed with the character, so I'm really, really picky, and I understand that. I just think her performance fell flat, and I'm really disappointed that the Ahsoka show is going to be Rosario Dawson. I'm still going to watch it. Don't get me wrong.
So what's kind of funny though about this whole thing is that you have her playing Ahsoka, right? But after that, so what's going to take place after this is Ahsoka in Star Wars: Rise of the Skywalker saying Rey.
Yep,
right,
and
it's her voice. So now you technically have two Ahsokas in the same universe.
It's weird. Well, I mean, I guess the argument at that point, to make it all make sense in your head, would be, if Ahsoka is dead at that point, it's her Force ghost just taking that form of younger Ahsoka, because we had Ewan McGregor in there.
Sure.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? because the Force
Yeah.
Ghost
Yeah.
is whatever you're kind of
Your best
manifesting.
form is.
That's how I justify it in my head. But anyway, I don't know. I know you guys like Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka, and I respect that. But I love the character, and I love Ashley Eckstein.
I can see your point, because like what you know is her from the animated series, and that's what you're used to.
Yeah.
And like they can do the other things with the other actors. Why can't they do?
Yeah.
And I think it's more or less the Rosario Dawson star power. They're hoping like that. Oh, cool. Let's this brand new character. Let's have an actress that people recognize that has not seen the animated series. Maybe hoping like that. Oh, let's get invested in checking this out, because we're not sure whether or not this is going to be as successful as we hope, unless we have a big name actress that we can really hang Ahsoka onto as an important character in this universe. Who knows what they were thinking on.
And of course, another big reveal that Ahsoka brought to us was Baby Yoda's, or the child, or whatever you want to call him, real name is Grogu.
Sorry about the early spoiler on that.
no, there's no spoilers here. This is the episode.
Yeah.
So, any thoughts on the name? Like, when I heard it, I was like, really? Like, I don't know. I was kind of disappointed by it.
Me too.
So, okay.
I keep on waiting for him to say like, is he like cousin? Like, I'm Grogu? Like he never says anything. He's always going to say like, I'm Grogu.
I am Grogu. So I know the internet has been really divided. Like, some people don't like the name. I mean, to me, like, it's fine. Like, it doesn't matter. Like,
it took me some time to accept it.
I know it doesn't really matter, but at the same time, like, I just feel like it was such a meh. Like,
yeah.
Again, they almost made it sound like baby, like the end of it's literally goo, like a baby going goo goo gaga. You know what I mean? Like, it's like Grogu. Like, you couldn't think of. I don't know. To me, it was just like kind of like, oh, all this. We don't know his name. People are yelling about Baby Yoda, the child, whatever, and then you come with this. I don't know.
I think it doesn't
Wasn't
matter.
there a villainous Yoda type of character called Yaddle in books in the comics in the past?
Yaddle Yaddle's not a bad guy, but Yaddle's the only other Yoda race alien that is canon. And I believe Yaddle's a girl. I don't remember anything.
Okay.
I don't remember anything being evil, but it's the same race. But it's cool that you brought him up, because Grogu, like, really, to me, it's a win on this name, as long as it wasn't some Y name like Yoda or Yaddle. Because if it was Yuddle or something, everyone would have been like, really? So to me, it had to be something that worked and not have been like just the same exact name,
And what's interesting is, doesn't Ahsoka say in that episode that Yoda's the only one of his kind that she's ever seen?
Yeah, and how's he created? By the Force?
Grogu?
Because who said that? You said that was only kind of like you said. Oh yeah, Ahsoka said that, right?
Yeah, Ahsoka said. Didn't she say that Yoda's the only other one of his kind that she's ever seen before? Right?
Yeah.
I just thought that was interesting, because like, she's obviously she's been around, and so I think it adds to the like mystique of the character.
Well, there's mystique to the race of character, yeah.
Right.
And how was he created? Like, is there any parents involved there, or like, why are they so rare?
They're on some planet that has not been revealed. Like, we don't know where this planet's at, because like most of Star Wars as we know it takes place within these certain galaxies, and there's an outer rim, but there's a whole universe. There's like unexplored stuff and beyond, like Star Wars can potentially be so expansive that like we haven't visited everything, and we may never visit, everything. But I mean, Yoda's just, from wherever Yoda and Yaddle come from. But since he was a baby, what the Jedi do is they take Force sensitive children and raise them in the temple. So that's all that happened here.
Okay. So like they don't really need to tell you about how they came across or anything like that. It's just like, okay, kind of like Professor X, like you can more or less, okay, if you're a mutant, you can show up and we'll train you.
Kind of. I mean, that's exactly it. I messed up with Ahsoka. I mean, we saw it with Anakin. except Anakin was a little older when they found him. He's Force sensitive, and they take him. They're going to raise him as a Jedi.
Is George Lucas an X-Men fan?
That's a great question. I mean, look at Darth Vader.
How much parallel
there's
there's between like the Jedis and the mutants.
You can't say Darth Vader is not like Doctor Doom, right?
Yeah, and like Yoda's kind of Professor X.
Yeah, absolutely.
Vader kind of has a Magneto helmet going too.
Yeah, exactly.
Art influences art. All right, so
that's awesome.
Next episode, probably one of the best in the whole season. Chapter 14, The Tragedy. In this episode, Mandalorian brings Grogu to a place called Tython, where he starts to meditate to see if any Jedi will come. And all of a sudden, the Slave One just shows up, and everyone starts freaking out. I couldn't believe it.
That's so
what
insane.
An episode. I have to admit, this is the only episode we went back and we watched it again. It was that awesome. I mean, my wife is a huge Boba Fett fan as well. You know, she has a Boba Fett tattoo, you know.
Oh, nice. I did not know that.
Yeah, Boba Fett arrives with Fennec. They show up, and he's like, I'm here for my armor. He's like, you'll have to pry the armor off of my body. He's like, that's your armor, my armor. Really, really big revelation in this episode is we find out Jango Fett, after much debate, is in canon, a Mandalorian foundling. So Jango Fett is a real Mandalorian. It is confirmed because he is a foundling, just like Mando. So thus, Boba Fett is a Mandalorian, which is really cool. And man, Boba Fett had character development this episode, and he showed what a badass he is. And he's just hitting stormtroopers with his gaffy stick, and their helmets are shattering. Man, I mean, like this was the action with Boba Fett that we wanted,
Yeah, and then when he shoots the guy, and then he's like, "Thanks," and he goes, "Oh, I was actually aiming for the other one."
I was aiming for the other one.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it was puzzling to me at first too, because I was kind of wondering, like, Boba Fett was a little bit too altruistic for me at first.
Okay.
Because he was very helpful to Mando, to a guy that who was commandeering his armor, but then afterwards, it was kind of like, man, this guy's actually nicer than Boba Fett I've ever seen. And I was kind of at one point wondering, once again, this is all fan theory stuff that I was thinking in the back of my head, was this possibly Commander Rex? Because in the cartoon, you told me to actually watch the last few episodes of Clone Wars, where Ahsoka redeemed Rex. And what better way to hide in plain sight from the Empire than to assume the identity of the most famous bounty hunter in the galaxy, Boba Fett? Because they're not looking for Boba Fett, they're looking for Commander Rex, the clone that defected, right? And I was under the assumption that, wouldn't that be a great reveal of this actually what Boba Fett, this is actually Commander Rex assisting Ahsoka, because he showed up in the episode right after Ahsoka was in the last episode after that. And I go, how convenient is this? But it obviously they went their own way with Fett being Boba Fett, which was still cool, but that was the thought that went through my head. It was, how cool would that be if that was actually the swerve, is that's actually Commander Rex, not even Boba Fett hiding as Boba Fett.
I love Rex, and I can't wait to see Rex on the live action played by Tamara Morrison, but I would be so disappointed if that wasn't Boba Fett. And it has to be Boba Fett because he has the stomach acid scars from being swallowed by the Sarlacc pit. But this is something that people have, Boba Fett surviving the Sarlacc pit happened in Legends, in the books, and now we were just waiting for it to be confirmed in the new canon. And Robert Rodriguez directed this episode, and he stepped in last minute. Somebody couldn't make it. I don't know if it was because of COVID or what. And Robert Rodriguez is actually a huge Boba Fett fan. Boba Fett was one of his favorite characters. He grew up with Star Wars,
Nice.
So if you go, I encourage you guys, if you haven't watched it, watch the Disney Gallery Mickey of Mandalorian season 2 on Disney Plus, and it talks a little bit about this. That episode script was like 8 pages or something, and there was like no fights. So Robert Rodriguez, he wanted to, he said he wasn't sure if this was going to be the only other time we were ever going to see Boba Fett. So if this was going to be the only other time we saw Boba Fett, he wanted to make it like memorable and wanted him to like show him for the badass that he was and stuff. And he delivered on it. And he even filmed a little animatic in his backyard with his children and Boba Fett and Stormtrooper helmets. And he's like, here's what I'm kind of thinking. And they're like, oh yeah, we love it. And they totally went for it. So like, just like the creators have such a love and respect for these characters, you know, and they're really doing this fan service, and they're making it work, you know, and it's,
Absolutely.
you know,
Absolutely. It was brilliant how they did it.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said too, it was like, it's some of the most fun, as I said too, like even the episode before when they had the Jedi battle with a lightsaber, and not even a lightsaber, but just whatever type of vibranium type of sword she was using. I can't remember what it was called again. What was it called again?
The Beskar spear.
Yes, and just like that was one of my favorite.
It's Star Wars vibranium.
I've never seen in all of Star Wars.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Vibranium.
It was really cool,
and it was just the beauty behind the setting of it. It was just by far with par with any of the other lightsaber battles they've ever had in any of Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't even a lightsaber; it was a lightsaber versus, what's it called again? Beskar metal or whatever it's called.
Yeah, Beskar.
Yeah, and excuse my lack of knowledge of Beskar metals, but yeah, dude, it was it's everything about this, even up to what is episode 5 right now. Every single one has had something that was like, oh my gosh, dude, this is so memorable. It's kind of like the exact opposite of the X-Men episode did.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I mean, like every single episode had something memorable that you can remember for years down the road, and I don't know how, you know, they're capturing that magic even just as much, if not more, than the original sagas. But they're hitting nails. I guess they have such the beautiful tapestry to work with that the original sagas offered us. But to honor those tapestries is just unbelievable what they're doing with this TV series. I don't mean to glow over how great Mandalorian is, but it's pretty obvious.
You know, Dave Filoni loves it. You know, he's friends with George Lucas, and they have long conversations all the time about stuff. And I think that's why, you know, they're always able to capture the magic. You know, and Boba Fett, what I also thought was really cool is more than just the action for me. Like, I loved his dialogue because he's always said like one or two things, like, put Captain Solo in the cargo hold as you wish, you know. But like, he had much more profound things to say. Like, he was still a man of honor, but like, he'll kill you if he needs to. And, you know, like, he says things like, they say like, sometimes fate sometimes steps in to rescue the wretched. Yeah. I mean, come on. This is Boba Fett.
Mm-hmm.
This is awesome. This is the only thing we ever wanted. And of course the Dark Troopers come, and they steal Grogu. Those are also from Legends, which is really, really neat. They are robots in this iteration, so it is really cool. They're just taking from all the facets of the universe. So
you know what was a great line? Speaking of great lines,
okay.
When the guy asks Mando about Grogu, and he goes, you know, what's that? What do you keep that for? And he goes, it's good luck. And that's and the guy was just like, I could see that, like a Mandalorian keeping a creature around for good luck.
Mandalorian.
Yeah.
He's a pet.
He's a pet.
Chapter 15, The Believer. The penultimate episode. Talk about character development. Grogu is stolen, so they go pick up Cara Dune. Cara Dune is back. I was so excited. But they go back to pick up Mayfield, and he gets a ton of character development, and you kind of feel bad for him. Bill Burr, who is a comedian, actually a comedian known for making fun of Star Wars.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, you should look it up. And somebody even did like a deep fake, and they stuck his comedian dialogue where he's making fun of Star Wars into this episode, and like everyone else just listening to him and like looking around, and he's talking about like how dumb Star Wars is, and Chewbacca is like just a Sasquatch, and it's pretty funny. But man, he did a great job. He talks about he lost all of his friends during Operation Cinder, which I actually had to go back and I was like, that sounds really familiar. Like, why do I know that? If you played Star Wars Battlefront 2 during the campaign, it starts off, like the Emperor's made little AIs of himself going around, and he's like, okay, I'm dead, so we're gonna start Operation Cinder. So they're going around and just like shooting these things down and like destroying planets. So like that's something they took from the video games that they're referencing.
That's crazy.
Of course, there was a tie-in novel with that, but I really enjoyed that video game and the characters from it. But I mean, you kind of like him at the end, right? He redeems himself.
Absolutely.
I will say, man, like there was some really, really weak plot points in this. I don't understand why he just Mayfield, he took off his helmet while they're in the tank, and then they go into this place and he's not putting it on, and we all know like stormtroopers, like everyone else is wearing their helmet. Like, why isn't he wearing it? Because all that does is cause the trouble. Is like, oh, this guy's gonna recognize me, so now Mando has to take off his helmet, and chaos ensues. But like, just put on the helmet and then you take it off and no one's looking. And I don't know. It seemed really, really weak. Like even for stuff you're supposed to just kind of like look past and have fun. Like I was like, why didn't you just put your helmet on?
Yeah. Well, that's how dedicated in that episode you showed how Mando was to the mission of rescuing Grogu, because he broke his own code to make sure he could save the child.
Yeah, and that's why they did it. But I just thought it was a really weak reason to provoke that from happening, because like, why didn't he just put his helmet on?
Yeah. I said too, it's like, I don't know the answer on that one. I mean, I said too, it's like, I was trying to think, I wish I had like a more depth answer like that. Hey, feels like maybe he's at home with his comrades again. Do you know what I mean? In a way, like he's trying to sell it that much. Like the fact of like that he kind of feels that he's in his own comfortable element. And then when the guy starts talking so vehemently towards, what happened on that mission you're referring to, he's kind of going like, these were my people. Do you know what I mean? He starts pissing them off a little bit. Mm-hmm. And that's what kind of broke their cover. Yeah. You know what I mean? Where he had to take his mask.
Yeah.
It's just like a little bit too personal to him. And another thing about that episode I think is unbelievable. Like the amount of toy potential of all those different things you saw, that vehicle, that big, massive transportation vehicle, and then the pirates that were coming after him in that episode. I mean, the toy line just expanded tenfold in that one episode. The different clone troopers that were in there too, or stormtroopers, I'm sorry. It was just it was a lot of fun. That was one of my favorite Toy Geek episodes of potential, like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see this on the shelf. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to see that on the shelf. Oh, that's gonna be crazy. And it was just it felt like even the base, you could have that whole freaking base be a toy set. But it made me feel like a little kid inside, seeing the potential of like these new imaginary characters and vehicles they put into that episode, which was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of new stuff in there. As much as throwback stuff we're seeing during the season, with a lot of fresh stuff that was really cool to see in that episode.
And of course, in that same line of reasoning for the toys, it was the previous episode, but we got so distracted with Boba Fett, we didn't mention that the Razor Crest blew up. So obviously,
oh yes, that's right.
Right after everyone backed the Hasbro thing of the Razor Crest toy, right now we're gonna have to buy a new one now that it blew up.
I wonder if it's gonna have blowing up action when you get it in the mail.
Oh gosh, that's
exploding action.
That's funny. All right. Anything else on this episode before we get to the finale?
Oh, good.
No.
All right. Chapter 16, The Rescue.
Oh my gosh.
That was the season finale. They go and they board, Moff Gideon's ship. We got Bo-Katan, we got Casca, Fennec. Boba Fett just kind of drops everyone off. and flies away. Cara Dune, Mandalorian, and they figure it all out, and Mando goes to fight, to go save Grogu, and Moff Gideon has the Darksaber.
A weak plot point, really quick. They go in, they capture the scientist dude, right? Then he just tells them everything. There's no like, you better tell me. Like, he just literally just like in the middle of them trying to make a plan, he just says, yeah, these dark troopers, they're here. Baby Yoda's gonna be over here. This is where the bay is, and like it was just like, okay, well, that's solved. You know, like it was just like, what is going on right now? Like when I was watching, I was like, what?
I guess
there was like no like, how can we trust him? It was just like, yep, what he said's true. All right, let's do this, guys. Boom, we're done. It was just like mind-boggling.
Yeah, I guess they're as smart as stormtroopers are accurate.
Yeah,
and the stormtroopers fire. So I don't know. It was just, I know what you mean. That's a good point. I didn't think about that until you said that, Lance. It's like, yeah, there was no resistance.
Like even ask him. There was no like, hey, you better tell us. It was just like he spoke up, and that was it.
Because the other guy that was in there with him was like kind of like, shut up, man, like don't say anything. And then he was kind of like, all right, here's the beans.
My defense of that would be he was already in season 1, and he was already acting like, oh, I don't want to hurt the baby. I didn't do anything to hurt him. And like he was already like super guilty about everything that was happening and didn't like what they were doing. So I feel like it was set up already to an extent.
Okay. Excellent. And plus Moff Gideon is nowhere near as scary as Darth Vader was there. So I kind of think maybe that's part of it too, is like Moff Gideon doesn't command that same respect that Vader did. Like, oh my gosh, this guy's going to kill me if I ever betray him in any way.
Yeah, because the Empire is fallen.
Yes. And so there's like a little bit of like, okay, maybe this is my out clause. If they survive this, bring me in as some important position on their side. Who knows what that process on that would be, but it's just but I did notice that is guys don't have as much fear of Gideon anywhere near as much of like Snoke or Vader or anything else that is in the Empire trying to rebuild after what happened in Return of the Jedi.
What really confused me was after Mando defeats Moff Gideon and he gets the Darksaber and he shows up, Grogu's safe, and he tries to hand it over to Bo, and Bo won't take it. And Moff Gideon explains, oh, you have to win the Darksaber. And yes, we know that from Rebels, but Bo had the Darksaber because Sabine gave it to her.
Oh, wow.
So I don't understand why it's suddenly a problem, but I went back. Well, I went back and I watched the episode. So I'm a little more okay with it now, because in that episode, all of the Mandalorian clans that were kind of around, because everyone was kind of dispersed, were there. And when Sabine was trying to hand it over again, they were like, you know, Clan Ren is with you, Clan Kryze is with you, Clan whatever is with you. Like, they were there, and like they were all cool with it. Like, they were saying, like, we're going to stand behind you. You're the rightful ruler. Like, let's do this. So, like, I'm assuming that's what made it okay. And now that she obviously lost it, and she never had a battle story to begin with, she can't just keep being handed the Darksaber. She wants to win it in battle. So I guess I'll take it. Not as bad as I thought it was, but she took it last time. I'm just saying.
Dude. That's good. Very observant too. Like how much lore you have inside of you too. Like you master this lore to recognize that, because that's kind of just going with the fact of like, okay, if that's the rule, that's the rule. But you know the lore that's been told about it, which is kind of awesome having this podcast with you, is like that we're sharing with people so much more depth than they probably already know.
Yeah.
About the Star Wars lore that you bring to the table, of course, which is awesome. I didn't know that until just you mentioned that.
Well, thanks. Well,
I mean, but
it is the lore,
for the sake of the fight, though, does she have to go to just hand-to-hand combat or something? Like, like she doesn't have to kill him, right? Just be like,
no, she doesn't.
I don't know, just
she
like
doesn't
at
have
the
to
same
kill
point, but it's kind of pointless. Like, what are you going to do? You guys are going to actually fight, and he's just not going to try on purpose, so you just take it because he doesn't want the damn thing? just take it. Like it's not going to matter either way.
That's why she's stuck. Obviously, because in the beginning of season 4 of Rebels, she was already feeling down about not being able to rally Mandalore and all that. So I think it's her, not being able to be her sister Satine, who was the Duchess of Mandalore. Like she's once again feeling like she's not living up to that, and she's not her sister, and she can't do this. And now she's just gonna keep being handed the Darksaber, and obviously he doesn't want it, and obviously he's just gonna throw the fight. So so what is she supposed to do?
But what better general for Mando to have of being like the fact of like as a advisor, consultant to Mando about bringing back the Mandalorian Empires, the two of them teaming up together.
Yeah.
And
or maybe
kind
getting
of
married.
ruling Mando together. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
can't
what
wait
happens-
to see all the toys with Mando with the Darksaber.
Oh my gosh.
And then Mando with the Darksaber and the what is it? Like a spear?
Spear, yeah.
Can I make like another major like Lance prediction that's
There we
probably
go.
off base because I'm not Lance,
Let's do this.
but it sounds kind of fun. Is what if they get married? Does she become kind of, can they co-rule Mando, the new, Mandalorian planet or wherever they go
Why
to start
not?
civilization again?
I mean,
And
technically he has the Darksaber, so right now
mhm.
Mandalorian, Mando, Din Djarin he has a claim to the throne.
And if they marry because of their respect for each other, then they could co-rule the new Mando, right?
As hopefully it's out of love
Mandalore.
and not for power.
Yeah. And that would be like kind of like the shift of unity of like that. Hey, we've got unified front of, because weren't they from two different guilds of Mandalorian, or am I not knowing that correctly?
Yeah. Din Djarin was a foundling, and he was raised by extremists who broke off from the rest of them. But I mean, Mandalorian's a creed, right? Not a race. But here's the thing about this whole thing is the rest of the episode we get distracted, and this does not get resolved. So whatever happens with the Darksaber and Bo and Din, like we don't even know till next season. Like it just stops, and that does not get resolved. And I didn't realize it because I was distracted by the rest of the episode. But like, that's it. It just ends right there.
Yep.
Because all of a sudden they're attacked by dark troopers. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a cliffhanger with that we didn't even realize. We got cliffhanged.
Yep.
We got cliffhanged in the middle of the episode.
The Dark Trooper thing was like almost so anticlimactic,
Why?
where no, he's like fighting one, and it's just like punching his brains into like the wall of the thing, and then he just air ejects them all, and it was just like, wow, okay, well, I mean, I guess like okay, all that hype, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
But then all of a sudden, they just somehow, I guess they can move faster than a spapeship.
Well, we saw they were
catch up.
Iron Man, right?
Yeah, they were
Come on,
glorified
come
Iron
on,
Man.
John Favreau, like that was intentional. Like those were little Star Wars Iron Man armors. Yes, I saw what you mean with the anticlimactic thing, but I mean, what were you supposed to do? Like you couldn't have them fight him, but they came back and like, oh, they're overwhelming forces, and then one X-wing shows up. And Cara Dune said, "Oh, great, one X-wing," and I was like, "Wait a second, that looks like an old X-wing." And then there was a hooded figure. I'm like, "No, they're not doing this. Like, no way." It was like, if it's a green lightsaber, we'll know for sure. And then, and that's it.
Black glove, green lightsaber.
I started losing my mind. I could not
so crazy
believe it because like there's a few options for what Jedi, quote unquote, or Force user could have showed up for Grogu. And of course, Luke was on the table, but no one would have actually thought they would have actually have done that. Like who thought they would have picked Luke of all the people in this to do Luke? No. And so my goodness, as he's cutting down the dark troopers in the hallway, how cool is the parallelism of that scene? We have Luke Skywalker killing these dark troopers compared to the hallway scene of Darth Vader in Rogue One killing the rebels. Like it's very cool. It's a very cool parallelism. I mean, even down to right at the end when they're using the force to lift one of them. and he's crushing him. But I mean, this is a moment that I think fans, even since the original trilogy, like wanted to see, Jedi Luke in his prime, just being a Jedi.
Luke, yeah. That
Yeah,
was
cool.
that was the most devastating moment I've seen. Like Luke just with his mastery of the Force in full understanding. I think that was the first time that was ever shown. Do you know what I mean? It's like that because in Return of the Jedi, he still had doubts about what was going on with him and his father, and this right here was like that. Okay, I'm the last, but one of the main Jedi masters in the galaxy now, and that's all there's to it. And I need to rebuild this order. And just like almost like that, as the two after Return of the Jedi, it's like he put on his shoulders that I am the lead protector of the galaxy now, and no one's going to reform this empire under my belt. And of course, so we know about the whole thing of like the failure of Kylo is what put him into hiding. I mean, just up into that moment was his prime. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of like I said too. Like, man, dude, Mike Trout for the Anaheim Angels hitting his 60 home runs type of moment for Luke Skywalker there. And I don't think Trout's actually hit 60 home runs yet, has he, Lance, dude?
No, he's not. He's never hit 50.
Yeah.
Really?
And so, but you know what I mean? But,
Okay,
like Mike Trout just being like the cream of the crop in baseball. That's what Luke Skywalker was right there. He was the cream of the crop of his Jedi era right there. Just watching. Go ahead. I'm just geeking out thinking about it.
I think it was great. One thing that I thought was kind of cool is the fact that he immediately knew who Yoda was. Like not Yoda, the like he was like, oh, that's clearly the reason I'm here, right? But
excuse me, sorry.
You almost know that Ahsoka told him to go bring Yoda, baby Yoda, to the little Jedi temple thing and do his thing to try to hopefully a Jedi will come for him. You have to think that she knew who would call.
Oh yes.
Like I'm sure she's aware of what Luke was doing at the time and knew that it was going to end up bringing him. Now, I know we've talked about if Ahsoka was in it, that maybe Ahsoka would bring him to the Jedi, to Luke to like train or whatever, or she would train him, right? But you have to think that Ahsoka knew that that's what would happen.
Do you?
Because why? Who else?
I don't.
Who else is out there training Jedi at?
We don't
like
well,
that?
We don't know, but I guess what I really want if Ahsoka does know about Luke, and I'm sure at some point she does or will, but Luke is Anakin's kid. Ahsoka is the Padawan of Anakin Skywalker. I mean, what an emotional meeting that has to be for her to see that the kid of Anakin and Padme survived and is a Jedi. Like I just think it's interesting to see. Like I want to see it. I don't care if it's the comic books. Like I want to know the exchange. I want to see, Luke asking about Anakin,
Yeah. I don't think the story's been told yet, has it?
No, not that I'm aware of.
I know it hasn't happened in the comics yet, but that's going to be a great story to see. Like I know that's man, dude. Talk about amazing, like the revelation like that. Wow, dude, this is the lineage of the Skywalker clan. I mean, just kind of even. I said you got me on a speechless moment there. That's crazy to think about.
I mean, if Ahsoka knows about Luke, I think that's awesome. I love that. So I want to go back and see how they met then, because there's so much.
My guess is like after they, after Return of the Jedi, they defeated the Empire again. That news probably spread quickly across the galaxy. And maybe she's, like, I don't know if there's a beacon they sent out afterwards too. Like, as I said too, like Leia, I think is still the major person that is the unifier of the Fallout. And she's the General Leia that's probably behind the scenes, sending Luke where he's supposed to go, named the communications person, because everything was they showed in those later movies was filtering through Leia until she died.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like that, are we going to, that I said too, like there's still so many stories to be told with not only Luke, Leia as well, the twin.
Yep.
And what led up into episode 7, 8, 9. I mean, obviously Luke went into hiding, but Leia was involved with everything since Return of the Jedi.
Yep.
So one thing that's interesting is the fact that now obviously it's not all over, right? But we know that the purpose of them trying to get Baby Yoda, Grogu, whatever you want to call him, is to create Palpatine's clone.
That's why the Emperor, the Empire wanted him. Yes.
Right. That's why they want. So they did say during the episode that he already has his blood. He got some of his blood.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is that moment the moment where they finally got what they needed to make the clone? Or is there still going to be more?
Ooh.
There's still going to be more.
You think so? So
So
be a constant battle again?
Okay. In the novelization of episode 9, it expands the details on what happened with Palpatine just a little bit. Palpatine and I think something very similar happened in Legends too. Palpatine was able to shift his consciousness when he was going down the pit to a clone body. I'm assuming it was still on Exegol. Now, they've been having a hard time with these clones, so that's why he looked the way he did, and his fingers were messed up, and he was blind and stuff. Like they weren't getting the clones right. So I'm pretty sure that's why they're trying to get Baby Yoda's blood, is because they're trying to make a better body for Palpatine. Like they're working on that. And I'm assuming that has to do with where Snoke came from as well. But that's why he's deformed like that. Now, what's really interesting is before episode 9 came out, they released that episode intentionally right before episode 9 came out to show you that Grogu had the Force healing powers, right? Right? Now,
Yes.
Palpatine saw that Rey and Ben could do it because they were a dyad in the Force, which was not seen for a millennia. And that's what restored him.
Okay.
Which is interesting. You kind of see what's happening here.
So like that, the DNA from Grogu is technically what brought back Palpatine, you're saying?
I'm saying that's why, like, he knew what he was looking for. They just weren't doing it right, but he finally got it in episode 9. So obviously he knew something about Grogu, right? So they were trying to do something with his DNA. Maybe they screw it up. Like, I don't know. But that clone still deformed in episode 9, though. You know what I mean?
Now, someone was mentioning to me they thought that was there.
That was what?
That was Snoke, not the Palpatine.
Oh yeah, I have no idea. I would have assumed it was Palpatine because
that makes sense. That's more Palpatine than Snoke.
Because we know Palpatine was in pursuit for a better body the entire time. Like he transferred his consciousness during Return of the Jedi, you know? So like from Return of the Jedi up until episode 9, he's trying to get a better body the entire time. Like that's what he's doing. And he's in hiding, and he sent out Snoke as a puppet. So that's why he was going after Grogu. And we already see the X-Wing pilots talk about like there's something going on here in the Outer Rim, which is the First Order and all of that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean
that's cool. Wow.
These shows are expanding upon this trilogy, and like they're making everything deeper, which is really neat.
Which is awesome. Yeah. So too, they're filling in all the gaps of like, okay, where rise from. This is kind of setting up that First Order too, as well. You're saying?
Yeah, definitely.
And then speaking of setting up, the after the credit scene.
Wait. Before the after the credit scene, we would be remiss to not talk about the goodbye. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
I didn't think he was going to go. Oh,
Yeah.
I bawled. I cried
Yeah.
so hard. And I was already crying. And then he reached up and then he took his helmet off and then that was it. I freaking lost it. That was it.
Did someone I saw online they were saying that paid homage to another moment? What was you're talking about?
When Vader takes off his helmet for Luke, let me look upon you with my own eyes.
Oh, yes, that's right.
There's a father-son dynamic there. Some more nice parallelism.
Yes.
Very eloquently done, I think. And I hope he sees him. I hope he sees him again. I'm heartbroken. I don't know what I'm going to do now. Lance doesn't seem impressed.
That's the two.
No, it was sad. I mean, but you all at the same time kind of knew it had to happen.
Yeah.
You know,
I
don't think it's gonna be the last. I don't think it's gonna be the last time they like see each other again.
But what's really sad to think about is he's going to live to be 900. So Mando's going to die within his lifetime, and he's going to live for like hundreds of years after that.
Yeah,
like knowing
if Mando has kids, he's going to see his grandkids, his great great grandkids, great 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 grandkids, great 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 grandkids. You know, he's going to be able to see the whole lineage. It's going to be amazing.
Yes.
It's sad.
And he's going to be maybe he's going to be a Jedi, but probably not. He's probably going to die. So to make you feel better, he probably won't outlive Mando.
Dude, here.
I'd like to think that
because we don't have Grogu in the. It's just we have Grogu now.
Yeah,
and don't you think Grogu would be there during
when Ben Solo kills everybody? I mean, in theory, but I want to know what the story is, and I want somebody to tell me that Grogu wasn't there. That's all I want.
Grogu's going to fail the training, and then he's going to go back to his papa
and fight for the Darksaber and take over Mandalore.
Oh my gosh! Good God! I'm
just kidding.
Else that just got opened up again. Boba Fett being alive. I can't wait for another young Han Solo to show up to meet Boba Fett again.
And Grogu's voice wasn't at the end of episode 9, so you're good, Blade. He's not going to be a Jedi.
Go Gaga. So, as Lance was saying,
is that a possibility now again too, or can we see another Han Solo Boba Fett meeting?
I guess it's possible, but I mean, it was just business, right? Boba was just getting a bounty. It's nothing personal.
Too. Like, I want to see a Boba Fett Han Solo team up.
Okay,
it'd be kind of cool to see them both old and like killing people. Like, I think that'd be like a cool like almost an old man Logan, old man Hawkeye scene, you know?
Because didn't Han Solo and Chewbacca disappear for a while? They came back in episode 7.
Yes, because they got divorced, so they just went off and did smuggler stuff.
Imagine, like, Solo looking up Boba Fett and say, "Hey, dude, old times, they go on a mission together."
Yeah, that's cool. I'm in it to win it. So
that's it too. Just so much fan service to be served. I'm just looking.
Yes, there is. And as long as it's Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, like, I mean, they're not going to disappoint. So
now I'm spoiled.
Yes, we are spoiled. There was an after the credit scene.
Yes.
Which was nice. I mean, we're doing the Marvel thing, right?
Yep.
There was an after the credit scene. And we're in a familiar place at Jabba's palace. And we have a fat Bib Fortuna.
Yes.
On the throne, which was kind of cool to see. Fun fact. Bib Fortuna is holding a staff in that scene. That staff that he's holding was based on the accessory that the original Kenner figure came with, but was never in any of the movies. It was just a random accessory. So that's why they did that. Cool. So now it's legit. Now it's legit.
Because that figure had like that staff. I remember that.
Yeah.
I thought I never realized he never had it.
He never had it, but now he does.
That's awesome.
Come on.
What I'm saying. These guys, like, I guess it is like we're in the generation right now, like where people that saw these movies originally had the creative power, creative experience now, and I guess more or less the respect in Hollywood to build on all the things they remembered as a kid and what were unanswered questions. It's happening in comics, it's happening in movies, it's happening in TV shows now. It's like all these like unanswered questions are now being given answers because they had the questions the same way we did.
Yep.
And they're giving us answers more than ever than any time in history, which is really fun to be.
Boba Fett kills Bib and takes the throne.
Yes.
And they announced the Book of Boba Fett coming in December. Awesome. So something else to look forward to this year. So we're getting a Boba Fett Disney Plus show.
Now, is that season 3 of Mandalorian, or is that going to be a whole different show?
It's its own show. It took them a few days to confirm that because there was a question because it's called the Book of Boba Fett, and Mandalorian is chapter 1, chapter 2, and so on. Yeah. But it is its own show, which is cool. This is a dream come true.
Because I was thinking that Jabba's palace could become the new Mandalorian headquarters.
Interesting.
Yes, not. Yeah, obviously not though, because you said too, it was like that. That would be kind of a fun thing because I thought it was kind of hilarious. It's like Din Fortuna took over Jabba's palace, did nothing but sat there and ate for the past 20 years or however many years or 5 years after.
Yep. Yeah, he got fat real quick. I mean,
yes,
we were half expecting Samuel L. Jackson to show up to talk to everyone about the Avengers Initiative, right?
Exactly, at this point. Dude. Yeah.
I mean, that's all this was Mando recruiting his Avengers. It's like, it's literally what it was. Oh, I know this person's good for this and that, and here we go. Let's go fight the bad guy.
Let's go save Grogu. But
the only thing missing were squirrels.
Or were there?
So I'm saying too, that will be the next big crossover. Squirrel planet and galaxy.
Mandalorian season 2. I loved it. I thought it was better than season 1.
Dude, it's absolutely. Very few TV shows can build on each other season after season, getting more enjoyable as it goes. Mandalorian, I think, has succeeded in the first 2 seasons so far.
But here's the thing: where do you go from here?
Yep,
Thrawn.
You got the most, but you got the literal sensation. You got rid of him, Baby Yoda. Everyone freaked out. Like that's all there is everywhere. Any store you go to has Baby Yoda stuff.
I guess they're just,
and now he's gone.
I guess they're banking on Bo-Katan and Ahsoka and Mando being able to hold their own, and Thrawn coming into the picture and the Darksaber and stuff. You know, like there's some very interesting Star Wars storytelling. But I know what you mean. I know what you're saying.
There'll be some other cute species that he'll have to go.
A what?
There'll be some other cute species that shows up that he'll have to try to protect and save.
A different baby. That would be repetitive.
It'll be like a baby ET or something.
My prediction is he's going to go train with Luke. And it's not going to go as well as he had hoped.
Okay.
And he's going to end up coming back with Mando because he was so upset by like not being around his like dad that he couldn't like train or concentrate. So that way you don't have to kill him by, with the whole Ben thing.
Yeah.
And you also keep Baby Yoda in future episodes for, the general audience to absorb more of this character.
Yeah.
You can see that.
I mean,
old prediction. We know you're right.
Yeah.
Let's just gotta wait.
Man, I don't know. Like, is it cheap just to bring him back, or does something more happen, give him a reason to go somewhere else? I would like to see him end up with Rey. Because
cool.
he'd still be young enough. I mean, that's
like post episode 9.
Yeah, post episode 9 Rey.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay,
like the new this new Jedi Order or whatever. That's what I would really like to see.
Yeah, like him be like the one that is the first person that she catches up with to help train the new Jedi Order.
Yeah, and maybe he can end up with Ahsoka, because I don't know. And Ahsoka brings it to Rey. I don't know. I'm just not thinking about this. But we're running a little long here, so we should probably wrap this up. But yeah, I mean, there's a reason why this was one of the highest rated season finales of all time, and now has surpassed Game of Thrones as the most pirated series of all time, I believe.
Wow.
But that's for a reason, because it is good stuff. Any other comments before we wrap up?
No.
It's an amazing topic. I love talking Mandalorian anytime we get a chance. So I think we hit on every angle much, and whatever angles people want to chime in, dude, make sure they, message us or text us on the boards.
Yeah,
What they thought about this episode.
Yeah, on social media. Let us know your thoughts.
We always love to be more enlightened than we already are.
Absolutely. We're at Nightcap Chat on Facebook and Instagram. Oh, no, and Twitter. Nightcap_chat on Instagram. Let us know what you think about Mandalorian Season 2. Who's your favorite character? Who's your favorite episode? But we appreciate all of your support, all of your listens, like, share, and subscribe. We had a really incredible year last year, and we look forward to even better 2021, especially with this momentum that we've had at the end of last year. But yeah, thank you all so much for listening. Ken?
Yes, dude, thanks again, dude, for everything you guys support. Once again, 2020 was a challenging year. 2021's here, and we're super excited. And this past week, I was reflecting a lot with all my customers about how they kept us feeling positive about how this was all going to turn out during this year. I mean, the support that was outpoured during the pandemic toward love of comic books in our community was unbelievable. Just want to say one thanks to just tie up how appreciative and how blessed we are to have such a great community around us. And Drawn to Comics on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course downtown Glendale at 5801 West Glendale Avenue. DrawnToComics.com. Thank you so much, you guys, for all your support and love towards the comic community.
And you can catch me on Twitch at Lance's Crystal Ball. I'm just kidding. It's at Tales of Lance on Twitch.
Dude, I want to go to Lance's Crystal Ball, man. Come on.
And actually, I did my last, I don't want to say episode, whatever, Twitch stream. We did a little baseball talk, a little off-season talk.
Nice.
So that was fun. So if you guys want to check that out, you can check that out too. It's on my Twitch at Tales of Lance and Twitter and Instagram at Tales of Lance.
Thank you all for listening. We love you. Be safe. We're really excited for this year. We already got some cool things cooking that we are very, very excited to share with you. And we will catch you all next week.
Thank you all.
Have a good week.